Hello, everybody. My cat is currently, she just got out of the dentist and had to get some teeth removed, so she is forcing her head upon my hand to move the mouse. So if there's any cat happenings on the stream, just know she's still recovering. It's very cute, but she needs peoples right now. So hello, everybody. I bet you didn't expect to see us people, on a Thursday of all the days. Typically, that day I know is reserved for a lot of people for Dungeons and Dragons, which is why we're doing another tabletop RPG, something a little bit different, which if you have been in the Discord, I have been very, very excited about. I recently purchased the Fate Worlds Volume 2, Worlds in Shadow, and in that I found rules for something I've been looking forward to for an incredibly long time, which is giant mechs inside of my tabletop RPG. We are still in the process of learning how to play Fate, so a lot of this is going to be very off the cuff. What we're doing is basically a DM prep game, because a lot of what DM prep in Fate involves is actually character creation with your friends, as well as a general setting to go off of. So we are going to be doing some of that, which I think is very fun, because if you know me personally, oh man, do I love Gundam. I love Gundam so much, which if you are looking at the Twitter or the Twitch layout, you can see that we're actually using an image of two Gundams fighting as the background, as well as I have my OneNote open. So I'm going to be sharing that with you guys, so that way you can actually see and how I go about making these notes for the campaigns that I do. I figured that this would be easier to show off than my campaign notes for the Monday or Tuesday night game, because that way, if RJ decides to lurk in chat, he doesn't end up spoiling himself on some delicious stuff. On a
I lurk
nice
where I
spoiler
please,
steak.
good sir.
Yeah, so instead, we're going to be doing some mechs. First, I think a rundown of the Fate system is probably going to be our best bet, just so that way we understand kind of how this game functions. Again, because I am very new at running this game, I've played it once before, and I fell in love because Danae, our dear Coriander from Monday Nights, played a Wild Blue Yonder game with us, where we got to be cowboys with superpowers, and I needed to play in that system again. So, what does a tabletop RPG fan do when you want to play a game but nobody else is like willing to run the game? You learn the game and run it yourself. So today we're gonna be just covering basic Fate. So Fate can be broken down into 4 basic actions. You have Overcome, which is the equivalent of making a skill check or other basic ability check, which, magic, if you give me the mouse, I have listed right there. There are 4 different outcomes for making your Overcome check, which is when you fail, you can choose to just say, no, I didn't fail, I succeeded, and then something really bad happens as well as part of you failing, or you can just say, oh, I fail, that's fine, and then you move on past that point. When you tie, you can get what you were after, but you take a minor cost to it. So maybe you open up the door, but then somebody spots you opening up the door. So it becomes very, it can get very, very close in how things are interacting. But for the most part, it's not going to be like, oh, I tried opening the door. I opened the door, but now the alarm's going off. Like, that would be a major fallback to you actually succeeding in opening a door. If you succeed on the check, then you attain the goal at no cost. And when you succeed with style, which is when you succeed with 2 or more of the challenge rating of the thing that you were trying to do, then you also get a boost in addition to your goal. What a boost is it's a type of aspect. And aspects are a very, very crucial part of the Fate system, which we will get into more as we do character creation. Which As I have said earlier, character creation is a huge part of the Fate system. So what comprises character creation and what helps players and DMs alike, or I guess storytellers, or if you were looking at the layout, you see me listed as the voice in the sky, because in Fate they call you the game master or the storyteller, but honestly it's such an interactive game that I feel like just being a voice in the sky rather than like the end all be all of this is a little bit more appealing for me. So we are going to be going into high concepts. So high concepts can be anything from I want to be the girl with the sword, or I want to be a badass pilot, or I want to be like the last surviving member of my family, or something along those lines. Some very broad-ranged idea that you can then kind of work into a character at full. So in this setting, all of your characters, as well as being your high concept, are also going to be pilots. You will be able to operate and use a mecha, which is in D&D, it would be like a gargantuan-sized creature that is a robot that you get inside and you can pilot. Now, Fate system is actually very cool in that it draws inspiration from all of the different mech anime and television series and games that you could possibly think of. So there are rules for if you want to be a transformer, you can. So in a situation like Robotech or Macross, where you could be a robot who then turned into a jet and then from your jet form turned back into a mech, there are rules for that. If you want to be like a member from Beast Wars or Zoids and be like a giant animal and then eventually turn into a robot to fight things, you can. If you want to be a combination of other robots, you can. And the combination thing is actually very important as well, because you all can choose to take the combine skill if you would like. And in doing so, LB, like you had said, some of the only mech anime shows that you've seen was Voltron. You guys could Voltron together and form one massive mech, so that way you can just do whatever you want. This game is incredibly open-ended. I fucking love it.
I'll form the head.
Someone had to say it. So the setting that we are going to be playing in is going to be Gundam. Specifically, just because I am familiar with Gundam, I know a wellspring of knowledge that I probably should have saved for school or something else of Gundam. And one of the things is that you guys are going to be playing in the first Neo-Zeon War. And that doesn't really mean a whole lot to a lot of people, but in the scope of the Gundam stories as a whole, the Neo-Zeon Wars are where the different story arcs begin to start branching out. Everything kind of relies on that, as you have the Earth itself, which they call the Earth Sphere for the most part. People begin to leave the Earth Sphere, creating colonies, either space station colonies, or they started making colonies and terraforming on different planets. So you have people from Mars, you have people from Earth, you have people not from Venus. You can survive there for a little bit, but it's too close to the sun, so unless your mech is built to withstand that much solar radiation, it's not going to be happening. Also, because of the way that Fate Worlds is structured, they call their setting Camelot Trigger. Camelot Trigger is very much a high fantasy knights meets mech, and there were some things that I liked from Camelot Trigger, other things that I don't. So as I kind of build around what we're going to be doing, there will be things from Camelot Trigger that make their way in, such as these large dragon-headed space portals that are called worm gates. And the worm gates were essentially built to expedite interplanetary travel. So rather than taking months to get between planet to planet, you can make it a matter of days. So that way it's a much quicker mode of getting from point A to point B to make the entire galaxy your effective playground.
Mass Effect relays.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. So there will be Mass Effect relays for the purpose of this adventure. Just know that they are coming. They have not been made yet. So there are two sides to the conflict behind the Neo-Zeon War, and that is the Federation, which is kind of as shitty as it sounds. It's effectively the Earth sphere wanting to maintain diplomatic and trade powers over all of their different settlements that are then out there in space doing their own thing. So you have a multitude of colonies where the number of people outnumber the remaining individuals left on the Earth sphere, but they're still being controlled by that minority. So those who are loyal to the Federation are in conflict with the members of the Neo-Zeon army. Both sides are not good sides. They are not, if you look into the grand scheme of what happens, Neo-Zeon ends up being just as bad, if not worse, as the Federation, but in their own separate way. But the conflict that you guys will be involved on is Neo-Zeon versus the Federation. Depending on the outcome of this game, if we end up getting to that point, we might just do character creation if it takes a long time. Then we will remember you in future mech anime, because this is a lot of, again, just kind of prepping, seeing what works, what doesn't work. These are three of some of my bestest, greatest friends, so I figured, why not ask them, hey, help me run a game about mechs. So let us go through, because I know, RJ, you've spent, I talked to you initially about getting in on a mech game, so I know that you've been thinking about your high concept a lot. So we're going to roll to you first, and then we can kind of work out how our skills and everything else like that falls into play, because there are new skills that you get to take for this setting, which again is one of those things where it's like some of them don't really make sense for what we're going with. Like, one is a family lineage. So if you in the Camelot Trigger are a descendant of X kind of zodiac symboled family, then you have different resources that you can call upon for there. And at that point, let's just call it resources. It's fine. We don't need to convolute this with extra stuff when it's already mechs. It's already going to get ridiculous as is. So, what is your high concept, or do you have one yet?
High concept. I was thinking of the mechanic.
Okay.
Basically, they were embroiled in this affair, starting off as a mechanic for one side or the other, and desperate times called for desperate measures, and he hopped into a mech and began to fight as well.
Okay, so your high concept is that you want to be a mechanic who managed to get, did you steal it? Or was it like you saw like an enemy's mech fall nearby and then the pilot like crawled out dying and then you hopped into the enemy's mech and you like repurposed that kind of fallen tech? Like, how did you get this mech?
I was thinking the hangar where he would work in like one of the space colonies was about to explode. So instead of hopping into an escape pod, he ran to a mech and hopped in, and then from there repurposed it.
Okay, from an exploding settlement. Okay, so if you were coming, this is also where the beauty of Fate comes in, is that we can just keep talking about the backstory and more things will eventually kind of flesh themselves out because of that. So you came from a space colony. So are you a supporter or are you against Neo-Zeon? Like, what side of this military division are you falling on?
have to think about. Maybe. Well, are we going into the loyalists, or are we just sticking with Neo Zeon and?
We can just stick, because again, this is the first war, so there isn't a whole lot of loyalists that are still popping up. This is very much the initial contact. In the lore of Gundam, what happens leading up to this conflict is that Neo Zeon actually drops a space colony on Dublin in Ireland and just levels it. And the Neo Zeon is just like, they gotta do something. They're going to be so mad, and the Federation is just like, well, it wasn't really filled with like important people, so
Fuck it.
yeah, and they just let it happen, which Neo Zeon was like, I don't understand what's going on here. But since we are in your character creation as well, do you want to figure out your aspects first and then figure out your skills, or do you want to have skills listed out for you first and then kind of work in your aspects, like why are you so good at these skills, or other way around?
Let's do it the other way around.
Okay, so you are from a exploding settlement. You were in space, so you could have had your first mech be on either side of this war.
Would it be
or at least your first mech?
First mech. I don't know what the other two want to do, so I want to say he floated around in space and was captured by a force. There's like this hunk of debris, and they were like, yeah, that's a mech. We're going to take it.
Okay, so captured by a force. All right, so Greybeard, would you like to go next and explain if you have a high concept that you would like to do? And again, this high concept can be anything.
Yeah. First off, I really like, RJ's like, I formed the head. I'm like, I formed the ass. I'm like the legs and, and unfortunately that leaves LB to figure out where she, yeah, exactly. I know. And that's after I thought it. I'm like, I shouldn't say anything.
I formed the midriff.
I formed the arms. That's
just arms, neck, butt, and arms.
Yes.
So, and two, there's so many of those old shows where they, based on Shogun warriors and whatnot, like G-Force Battle of Planets, where they all form together and become the Fiery Phoenix and stuff. So that will be my question. Is there like, it's a human-centric universe?
Yes.
There's no like giant kaiju space, dragons and whatnot that we know of currently.
Yes, there are none. It is, as far as at this point in time, humans just agreed on a universal calendar about 80 years ago.
Is it a 10-day?
No, it's a week.
No. I've got a galactic calendar I made for my space role play game. So anyway, I would love to reprise my basically kind of a robot jock samurai type character. So I think probably raised to be a mech jock, or whatever we're calling Gundam pilot type thing. So I guess that's where I would want to go with it.
Okay. So a robot jockey, aka just a pilot samurai who was like raised. So you were like, it was still, you have like a sense of honor in battle with you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Where it's, it's a military upbringing and, that kind of born in the saddle kind of thing.
All right. And so if that was the case and you were born to, like, if you were born and then raised how to pilot very early, that probably would place you in the originally as part of the Federation, because they would have had access to all of the giant mechs and everything like that. So that way they could train you from an early age. Whereas the rebellion forces very much got theirs piecemeal later and then refitted them and figured out, okay, this is how we can make our own and then fight back.
So, but with that, we can also say, because of my sense of honor and whatnot, that I could have at some point gone, I see,
Exactly.
you have no honor, and hence join the rebellion. So whichever way we decide as a group to
this is
follow.
just figuring out where like your origin point is, or your origin point is. Yeah, origin point is Federation. All right, and then LB, do you have any idea for what you would like to be?
I do. So we were born before the separation.
Yes, you are currently going to be fighting in the war that is occurring between those two forces.
Okay, so and fit this in how it fits, but I grew up in a very rich family, and instead of getting a pony, I got a mech, and it was like super fun to yes. RJ, yes.
Oh no, I was gonna point out the differences between Neo Zeon and the Anti-Earth Force, where Neo Zeon was very inferior in number versus like the Anti-Earth Forces, so they had to make highly specialized mechs. Whereas the Anti-Earth Forces were like, there's so many of them, let's just mass produce these motherfuckers.
Nerd.
Yeah. So you were funny thing that you would say that you wanted to grow up in like a nice wealthy family, because one of the tropes that Gundam typically has is that there is a weird princess character. There is always one who is like, I am the diplomat from a noble family who is here to act like a Joan of Arc character and like bring up the small people. Or like there's one character in Gundam Unicorn who is the son of like...
I'm sorry, pause.
Yes.
Yes.
Gundam Unicorn, the Magical Girl Gundam series, as I like to call it. Because the main character, Banage, who his name is spelled like Banerjee. Yeah, it's really, I don't like the way it's spelled. Because I didn't hear it until I watched the series, and they're like, Banage. I was like, I don't know who this is. But his Gundam stays in its standard form until he unlocks his new type ability, which basically allows him to connect his emotions to every other creature that's in the surrounding area. So the stronger he feels, the more powerful his Gundam can become. And there is a magical girl transformation sequence on the Gundam every fight as it goes into its new type form. No, it shows up the leg, it goes to the Gundam butt, like you see it like come down. The horn that it has on its head actually splits open to create this, like the trademark Gundam V on the top. It's beautiful. So yes, you can be the rich horse girl, but replace horse with Gundam.
I would also like to point out that there in G Gundam there is a Gundam called the Master Gundam, and he has a his horse mech is piloted by a horse named Fusaki.
Oh my god.
So
what is this show?
G Gundam.
G Gundam is the
becomes
Street Fighter.
A boxing ring.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So in G Gundam, every time they go into a fight, a electrical force field appears, or like a force cage appears around Earth to allow them to fight in one city. And the entire time, like, it's just them punching each other. There is no reason why they fight. It's great.
At some point during the show, the main character is late for his fight, so he uses the force field cage as a slingshot to make his entrance. And I'm just like, what is this? Why?
Okay.
Have you seen this man?
So this is why I'm excited that you're here, LB, is because you have no frame of reference for this.
So I guess what I'm thinking is that my character, like, not that she doesn't have empathy, but she doesn't see it as like I'm killing people sort of thing. It's kind of like, this is fun and it's a challenge. Like, yeah.
There's a lot of disassociation with some Gundam pilots where they think they're killing bots up until the point they see like the blood spray. They're like, "Oh God, I'm killing people."
Yeah.
Then they like look behind them. There's just a slew of destroyed bots, and it's like Gundam pilot starts crying, and it's like, Banage, stop crying. It's okay. Like, it's still the Gundam Unicorn Kid. But so yeah, those are so we have your high concepts at a mechanic who managed to steal a mech. Then we was raised from an early age by it could have been either like a military force, or it could have been like a special school for Gundam pilots, that's the plot of a dating sim. That's besides the point. Muv-Luv Alternative was weird.
Oh
no! You
Sorry.
switched.
I hit the wrong.
Oh, that is A-okay.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
That's okay. I can switch you two back.
Now you're the mech enthusiast.
There we go.
Ah.
And
Happy.
swapped back. Yeah, so the high concepts are the mechanic who we found out started on a space station, worked as a mechanic for a while, and then eventually managed to find a mech suit. And again, maybe it's the mech suit that you still have. Maybe it's the one that you like managed to actually like break into the piloting field. Like after you finally got into it, they recognize like, oh, this guy's actually really good at this.
If we were to be a part of the Neo Zeon forces, I'd like it to be my original suit, but they've upgraded it from the standard base model and gave it special armaments. Only like they would have.
Yeah. So let's just say
We gotta pick a side, guys.
we do. That's the next part of this. Or you could be part of the loyalists and just have really terrible mechs.
Nope, that's not how mine works.
Couldn't we be mercenaries, selling our services to both sides?
I don't know if I would do that. Maybe with influence I could do that.
No, the main character.
Who's to say you're not the leader of the group, where you're the one who makes the deals? So
Nah, bruh.
nah,
I'm like a child. Not a child, but I'm basically like, everything's pretty.
Look at
Oh
all
my
this.
gosh, your mech, it's so pretty.
Iron-blooded orphans, it's happening all over.
Oh no! The names
like-
of Gundam shows get weird.
I'm like, okay, this is how I picture it. I'm the kid who grew up in like the wealthy family that like owned GM or something, so I know a lot about the mechs.
Nice.
Because like I grew up around them and I'm like, oh, is this the fusion core? Blah blah blah. What's the, I know all the specs of it, but I'm like everything else in life, I'm like, I'm so aloof.
I like it. Okay, so your family owned a manufacturing plant for mobile suits, so
Sure.
Awesome.
if they were like a GM or maybe so there's also the option. So again, kind of tying into the Neo Zeon, where RJ was saying, okay, so maybe the Neo Zeon ended up like buffing up my mech suit and giving me more of that kind of thing. Maybe that's more what your family was doing, because in Neo Zeon they needed those more like much more intensive on the inside, like more specialized mech suits. So maybe that was your family. It was not necessarily like General Motors, but it could have been a it could have been like, oh, we were like the Lamborghini of Gundam. So like we can get you exactly the specifications that you need or that you want, but always at a price. But you were just around the manufacturing plant. You've kind of learned this, the ins and outs of Gundams, as well as like how, just how they work and different things relating to that.
Yeah. We put rims on everything.
Yeah. So if you would like, You can
Or
add
things
you can add an aspect if you would like,
Okay.
which is the first aspect that we're adding, and this is going to be we're gonna have aspects based on how we know each other, because I like the way that Danae had set it up previously. But I feel like with your background, you could add an aspect eye for detail.
Ooh.
So then you could say like, oh, when I'm looking at other mechs, it doesn't take me as long to kind of recognize what about that mech is different or special or has its custom parts, or maybe where it's been repaired at certain points. Like you're very good at visualizing that kind of thing.
Look out! He's got an energy sword.
Like you don't say.
Told you.
Okay, so aspect eye for detail.
I thought of something cool. Aspect called Chop Shop, where basically if a part gets blown off of my mech, I can basically cannibalize another mech to like grab their arm and then pop it on.
I am going to say no.
No.
Specifically because there is a ability in the game already called salvage.
Boo.
So I don't want you to use an aspect when there's already an ability that lets you do that thing.
I'll let it rock.
If you wanted, that could be something, because in this game, not only do you as players have aspects, your mechs also have aspects as well.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah.
well, not aspects, they have stunts, which are something that we will get into later. So you could, for example, have your core piece on your of your Gundam have a stunt where basically if your arm gets blown off or something like that, you could grab another arm, put it up, and you would see cords kind of reach out onto it, and then you would begin to be able to move that arm as your own. So you could have like this quick grafting ability.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say write that down so we don't forget, because audio listeners might remember what we talk about, but I'll be damned if I remember what I say 5 minutes after I say it half the time. All right, so we have RJ being a member of Neo Xeon, right? Because you wanted them to be able to like pimp out your Gundam.
Yeah.
Pimp my mobile suit.
We're all gonna be part of Neo Xeon, right?
I believe so. At this point, yes.
Okay. So I want to kind of change it where, yeah, an enemy mech does crash. I managed to steal it because it'd be the generic mech for the anti-Earth force. Crash land somewhere or was taken up by a Neo Xeon ship, and the mech was refitted.
Force mobile suit. I need to get into the habit of saying mobile suit instead of Gundam because trademark. I don't have it. All day I've been mentally referring to this as damn gun. Just swap them.
Gundam is an acronym, right? Something long.
Probably.
That's what she said.
That you.
Hey, you get your dad jokes. This is my thing, okay? Let me have it.
Oh, there's like 50 billion acronyms. God dang.
Okay, so repurposed for Neo Xeon forces. And then LB, yours is that your family makes the custom mechs for Neo Xeon. All right, awesome. And then GB, so would you want to have, so your origin point was the Federation. So,
They dishonored themselves. I mean, does that work out? We can switch things up.
Well, it could be. So the way that I'm thinking is with Neo Xeon and the Federation, because again, there is Neo Xeon just dropping a settlement onto Dublin, causing it to just be wiped off the face of the earth, and then the Federation does nothing. do you feel like you would have defected from the Federation at that point and joined up with Neo Zeon? Even though their tactic was like, you dropped a settlement on a town and now the town is gone. But like, maybe you feel like theirs was like an ends justify the means kind of thing? Or would you have just like, would that have been like a harder selling point? Like if you had already been on Neo Zeon.
I think that maybe it had to be, you know, slaughter of the innocents or something where it.
Because the Federation is almost a lack of action.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, all of this stuff is happening around them, and they're still maintaining military outposts, just fighting back against the anti-Earth forces, defending themselves against Neo Zeon when they are assaulted. But for the most part, they're just maintaining a status quo rather than trying to do anything about it. Because
there has to. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say you could be a Federation loyalist who is like undercover, or is like snuck into the ranks of Neo Zeon to try and like bring them down from the inside. So you don't necessarily agree with the Federation, but you also don't agree with Neo Zeon.
I don't think I'm a spy. I think I'm a warrior. So that would. Yeah, that's hard to fit. I maybe I have to change my high concept a bit.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Back to it.
So, one of the things that we are going to be getting into, I just want to say this is incredible. Magic has been in the room this entire time, and she has not made a fuss because she's still high on kitty drugs. So she's just,
Wow.
just sitting real quiet and still. So, let's see, what are the abilities? So, for your guys' abilities, because we can start moving into this, and you feel free to rearrange them however best you want, but this is more of getting an understanding of who your characters are, because you already have your high concept. So your stats, oh yes, I love you too, Miss Kitty. She started just ramming her face on my hand. But you guys will get a set number of points that you can use and put into different skills. So those are... Let's see here. Because one of the things that they have, which is really cool, in the back of the book, they have a cheat sheet for all the information that you need and where to find it.
That's awesome.
What page is that?
That in the Fate book is 292.
Thank you.
No prob.
Oh, you got a PDF.
I do.
Oh. By the way, I was just scrolling through and looking at some pictures of from the setting that we're in, and someone posted a picture of the settlement hitting Dublin, and underneath it said, "Oh Lord, here comes the neighborhood."
Oh no. Yeesh. Okay, so hi. She was trying to move my pen to get my attention. So, you guys are going to have one great skill. So your base stat in that skill is going to be +4. You're going to have 2 good skills, which is at a +3, 3 fair skills, which are at a +2, and then 4 average skills, which are at a +1. Now, just keep those numbers down, and then you will have more abilities than you have modifiers, and everything else is just going to be at a +0. So it'll be... Oh, you're trying to open up the book for me. That's so helpful. So all of that is going to be incorporated into how your character functions. Now, the other thing is that, again, like I was saying earlier, in the Camelot Trigger setting, they made changes to the skills so that way it kind of fit more towards what they were going for. But ours is, again, like a twist on a twist of a game. So we're going to be going through the skills and then seeing, hey, based on your general knowledge of robots and fighting in space, do you think this ability is applicable for what we're going with? So the first one is a new skill, and that skill is called Armor. So basically, that will determine the mech that you have, or the familiarity that you have when piloting said thing. Because there's always going to be points, there's also going to be an option for vehicle, but that could be like a star cruiser or a trade barge or some other kind of actual ship rather than a more humanoid fighty robot. So then we're going to add some new pages. So our first skill is Armor. Then the next skill that we have is called...
Are we supposed to be writing them down? Plots?
So
what do you want?
For this one, just because Armor is very core to the game, just write it down somewhere so that way you have the list of stats out. I'm also writing down a list so that way I can just send it to you guys after I'm done writing it out. So that way we have a much more fixed version if you would prefer that, to save on paper and time.
Cool.
So the other ability, so instead of shoot, it is now called blast. Most ranged weapons are energy projectiles that function equally well in atmosphere or in space. Rocket-propelled explosives are also used, but usually at armor scale. Use blast when firing armor weapons, shooting laser pistols, or anytime you want to cause damage at range. So it's just your basic shooting. I think blast works fine for what it's called and kind of what it does. I preferred shoot, like the wording that they had with it the first time, but I feel like blast is a little bit more evocative as a term, especially when you're like, I'm gonna blast him with my laser gun! Like, just get really amped up about shooting. Oh yeah, this was one that they changed that I didn't really know how to feel about, which was, instead of empathy, you have a chivalry score. So chivalry, honor is important to every knight. You can use chivalry to demonstrate how honorable you are, as well as determining how honorable others are. I feel like empathy works better in the Gundam setting, just because, like, in Gundam Wing, for example, they were all supposed to be, like, counter-revolutionaries, anti-government assassins that were, like, child soldiers, so at that point it's like, okay, chivalry's dead to these young kids. Like, that doesn't... So I personally think empathy would still work here.
So what are we going with?
So I would say empathy, unless anybody is strongly opposed and thinks that chivalry is the way to go for this game.
I'm going to use my empathy like chivalry, but it can be empathy.
Oh, yeah. And then instead of deceive, it is called cunning. And I think cunning works really well. Which is, clever knights live longer. Honor is important, but so is staying alive. Knowing when to break the rules is an important survival skill. Use cunning to set ambushes, spread rumors, and win battles through trickery. So your cunning skill you can then use when you're inside of your mech to help, again, kind of create a distraction to something else, or just really create a situation either inside your mech or out where the enemy isn't sure exactly what you're doing, or maybe you have a plot that you're trying to put into place. I feel like cunning would be a really good way to say it, I would think. Which do you guys think? Cunning or deceive?
Cunning.
Cunning.
All right. So, daunt or provoke? So, provoke is the original one, daunt is the new one. Intimidation is one of the knight's most important weapons. A fearful opponent makes mistakes, and being known as a terror on the battlefield instills fear in any you meet in battle. You can use daunt to cause mental stress, create advantages from your fearsome reputation, or set up an obstacle to cow your inferiors from attacking you.
And what's
the other version is provoke.
And I use my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
my dad.
Shit, her dad owns a dealership.
Yep.
Sweet rims.
I'll just be.
Yeah. Provoke.
I like provoke.
All right. And not daunt.
not daunt.
Got
Not
it.
Seems a little daunting.
I liked Daunt because
Oh.
of I like we're going general like 2 out of 3 on this one. Like if more people say provoke, we're writing down provoke because again, this is how I'm prepping for Fate. I don't know any of these things. So I like Daunt just because there are in Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, when they recognize one of the other person's mechs, they're like, oh no. Oh, it's that guy. And like the enemy, like you see them like charging in and then stop.
That mech actually gains a reputation, and it's known throughout the enemy ranks as the demon.
So it's like, I feel like Daunt would be kind of cool just to have that, but at the same time, I feel like that could tie into Provoke really easily, because it's just like, you see my mech, right? You understand what I am.
Do you know who I am? My father invented toaster strudels.
Shit!
Oh my god, it's Jason Bourne.
All right, so Provoke and Daunt are good. We're sticking with Provoke. And then the next is Devotion or Will. I think Will is a better phrase than Devotion is on this.
Devotion has like that sort of religious thing to it, connotation.
A knight fights for a cause, love, loyalty, family, or faith. Not a Gundam pilot. Gundam pilot fights for fucking money. Like,
Yeah. Or to find his brother.
let's not talk about Akihiro on this happy show.
Oh, I was talking about Domon, but okay.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of missing brothers in Gundam.
There's a lot of missing brother.
So
I've seen this man.
then it is household or resources. Honestly, I feel like resources just worked fine before. I don't think that you need to have your household tied with it.
Lots of resources for LB's character.
Yeah.
Money, money, money.
And so the way that resources work is that you don't really have money in this game. And when I say you don't have money, it's because you just have it. You don't have to keep track of it. You just have a resources score, and then that denotes how much money you have generally. Now, if you are from a wealthy family or you have a large backstock of money, you can use your resources skill all the time and like pay for everything. But if you don't end up like following through with it on the side where it's just like, oh, this was your allowance, this is how much we are going to give you, and you end up like draining the family's credit card, that can actually create a negative aspect for your character, where then possible like debt collectors can come and get you, your credit card is declined, things like that, where eventually your resources end up becoming frozen because you've used too much of them throughout.
So like
cuts you off.
Like in Burning Wheel, do you make resources roles, or are resources just sort of a role play functionary?
So there are roles for it.
Okay.
I think. Because from what I've seen, like, there isn't really a whole lot that's like, especially in an age where it's like, oh, we're a spacefaring people. As long as I have my space money, everything's fine. So I think that works out. But I think it would be more of a passive skill. But if you wanted to say, like, would I know how much resources it would take for X person to have a thing? Or it's like, again, you are like, I have a +2 to my resources. Could I feasibly like buy the entire unit custom made mechs? Probably not. You would probably have to get like a +6 in that skill to even think about like outfitting people in mech suits for free, versus like, okay, I can afford to like maintain my own and get repairs. And again, in this one, in this setting, your resources will also be tied to the quality of repair that you end up getting, because if you as a group have very low resource cost, you're kind of just going to be making piecemeal with the parts that you find out in the scrap yards or in the battlefields after everything's kind of said and done. So the next skill is inquire or investigate.
Hate to go all D&D, but investigate's very familiar.
Yeah, I also like investigation, because inquire, it says in here, knights don't investigate, they inquire. Sheriffs and constables do the dirty work of rounding up criminals and evidence. And it's like, so you just kind of like talk at somebody, you don't do any of it yourself? Again, not a Gundam thing. And then the next is intrigue or rapport. So do you want to have, I think rapport might work better. Because wearing the correct fashion in court or speaking the proper word in the right ear are just as important to war as the blow of a depleted uranium warhammer to the beryllium breastplate of the enemy. Those who do well in the court possess intrigue. Those without it are wise to stay silent and look foolish, lest they open their mouths for proof.
Are we going to have the court? Is the question there, though? Are we going to have that sort of organization that matters? Because if not, then...
There are like high councils and things like that, because the Gundam series do have political intrigue in them.
Okay.
But I think overall, like where you guys are at currently, it's not really going to be much. Like if you wanted to have that and then have your like rapport, because I feel like rapport is also good, because half the time you're going to be talking to somebody through a tiny little square that's only showing your face anyways. So having the ability, yeah, kind of like how we talk now. So like exactly.
Sorry, wrong thing. Wrong country. My bad.
Or is it? Welcome to the space spheres. All of the colonies. Just, you're from Space Korea. It's fine.
Neo Korea. There's Neo Japan. There's Neo England.
Fighting!
There is no Neo Dublin, because the regular Dublin
is...
Let's not talk about that, dude.
We don't talk about Neo Dublin.
Neo Mexico.
All right,
Tequila.
so the next one... Yeah, let's not talk about Tequila Gundam.
I'm sorry,
Also.
we went with rapport or...
I would say rapport. I think rapport is fine. And then another skill is larceny or burglary. Burglary was the initial one, whereas larceny is the same for cut purses, disgraced armor smiths and brigands. And you use it to break into treasure vaults, hijack armor, and find somebody quietly to sell it off piece by piece.
Larceny.
Alrighty. I like larceny as well.
No. Okay.
What do you think, GB? Do you like burglary or larceny for a mech game?
I'd garbage both of them and come up with something else, but
It's like burglary is like, oh, I stole a purse. Larceny's like, I stole a building.
Grand Theft Gundam.
Mhm.
Grand Theft Gundam. Nice.
All right. Yeah, I think larceny would be good, because it also says, yeah, I think larceny is a call
all
on
good.
that one. Okay. So then there is your contacts, which is the classic version of it, or your lineage. And the lineage, again, is like, I am the descendant of the Gemini clan. It's like, no, stop it. You might work, like, I feel like contacts works better, because that's going to be you talking to, like, in Iron-Blooded Orphans, again, as an example. There is a part where the group needs to talk to a mob boss, so that way they can end up getting like sanctity for traveling through a sector of space that they wouldn't have been able to before. And that would be more of a contact. And then like they brought them into the family, which is a really moving scene. But
Turbines.
and then yeah, so use lineage when asking favors, scouring the systems for someone, or trying to get a meeting with the king. I feel like contacts covers that fine. It didn't need to be reworded. Contacts. And then there is Cyberwolf's favorite skill. They didn't change it. Lore.
Oh. I was gonna say Red Bull, but
Oh no, that's
Your favorite skill is Red Bull?
Red Bull. That sounds like an
Yeah.
awesome skill. It sounds like
I
you just smash through everything.
I can drink a Red Bull about 2 hours before I go to bed.
Nope.
I mean, that's not good, but yeah, right. Coffee does nothing to me.
All right, so the next skill is either Mark or Notice. What do you think is... Because Mark, this skill covers noticing things in the moment. It can be passive or active. Mark is also the skill used to notice elements on the battlefield and the tactics of the opponent. Use Mark to look for the hidden knife, smell the distinctive perfume emanating from the closet, discern information from someone's accent.
Notice.
Yeah?
I've Mark.
What do you think, GB?
I agree.
Yeah, no, Mark. Yeah, it's more. That's more of a battlefield sort of thing, and what you just read was more of a intrigue type thing. if it was only about the mechs, if it was BattleTech we were playing,
Yeah.
not Mech Warrior, then I'd be like, oh, it's Mark, because you're like marking, calling out targets.
Mhm.
But this is more generalized, I think. So Notice, is that
Yeah.
what we're...
Yeah, I've written down Notice. I think that's a solid
Perfect.
one. All right. And then there is a Fight skill or Melee. And Melee is the updated one.
This is in a mech.
Yeah. Melee would be either. So you're like in Greybeards character, for example, how you wanted to be, how you were saying earlier that, oh, this character was really good at fencing and martial arts and all of these other like physical kinds of things. You could definitely have that be Melee instead of just fight.
Yeah. I'm good with either on that one, really.
I think Melee makes the best distinction between like if you're fighting or blasting somebody versus if it's melee or blast.
Perfect.
And then there is another skill that was not changed, which is Pilot.
Piloting check.
Yep, so any vehicle in the setting that's not armor uses this skill. So use Pilot to fly starfighters, space freighters, or armor dropships. And then there is, they call it Skulking or Stealth.
I like stealth better.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, stealth, yeah.
Don't you want to skulk around?
That
No.
always gives me like the idea of like someone going like, oh, like
Sulking
sulking
instead of
around.
skulking.
That's not the word.
Samurai do not skulk.
All right.
Just a high stealth skill on your armor, and it's just like a bunch of bushes taped onto your
Mm-hmm.
in space.
In space.
Then the next skill, instead of craft, it is called Smithy. And it covers repairs of any technology, but is most often used to fix the damage to armor between battles. So instead of making a craft check, you would make a Smithy check.
I like that, yeah.
I like Smithy. Crafting to me sounds more like we've got to go gather crap and build things.
Gotta get 2 sticks and 3 rocks.
Mhm. God damn it! If I have to collect one more Murloc tooth.
All right. So the next skill is called Vigor, or it is also known as your Physique. So because of the physical motion required to use a Neuro Helm, which is what they use in this, but we are not going to be using Neuro Helms unless... it depends, because some Gundams do, some don't. There are many ways that you can pilot.
Note, we're synced together with Neurohelms, and the two of us have to make the exact same moves at the same time.
G Gundam.
Yeah,
Oh, it's the Pacific Rim.
Yep,
Oh.
but
It also happens in G Gundam.
But you don't need to be drift compatible with anybody in G Gundam except for the horse.
Yeah.
So, which do you guys prefer, Vigor or Physique?
Physique.
All right.
Let's go physique. Physique.
Besides, it's on the sheet as Physique.
Yes. Physique.
We have a sheet.
Mm-hmm. You do too.
I sent it to you before the show.
I know.
All right.
Fucking with you.
And then the last skill is zeal or athletics.
Athletics.
All right. Sounds good to me.
I can spell.
I can't.
So I'm going to copy all of these, then boop-a-doo.
Oh, I spelled it right.
There's that.
Interessant.
There's that.
Bam.
And there's that. So that way we have a finalized list of what we all agreed on were going to be the skills. So that'll give you guys some time to put those into your characters as well, and figure out what it is you actually feel like your pilot would be good at. Because, like I've said earlier, there is going to be a mech building phase, but the way that we figure out stats for the mechs is actually going to be slightly different, as their stats, rather than having four like one great skill, 2 good skills, 3 like medium skills, you actually can choose what part of your Gundam gives you what bonus, or what part of your mobile suit. And you can even choose to forego those bonuses and just be completely loaded out with stunts. And then as soon as your fate points are out, you're kind of just hanging around. Gundam Heavy Arms.
You go all like Nova, Nova, and then you're done. You know?
Yep.
Gundam Heavy Arms.
Gundam Heavy Arms. His arms are 2 Gatling guns. His chest is full of missiles. At the start of every fight, he just blows everything. And then he just sits in the back just smoking. like 4 episodes.
He shows up he has a backpack with missiles. His legs and his arms are filled with missiles, and it's just like scene 1. 30 minutes later. Beep, 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 beep.
But yeah, so those are our skills. So I feel like the skills, like, we didn't really have to change too many of them, but again, like, having a lineage skill didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me in this kind of setting.
So the skills on the sheet, we just plug these into said boxes at what point we want?
Yep.
But there is no 0.
Yes, so anything that doesn't have any points associated with it, you don't need to write into the sheet.
But we need to know that we have that skill,
yes,
or that is a possibility. We just don't have any bonus.
Yes, and if it's not on the sheet, and it's like, I ask like, hey, could you make a larceny check? And you're like, I didn't take any points in larceny. Then you just add 0 to the roll. Like, you know that, oh, okay, I'm not skilled in this anyways. Hope for the best. Because that's always what I hope for.
So should we start plugging those?
Yeah, you guys can start plugging those away, unless you guys want to figure out more about your backstories before you start putting them in. If you have a good idea about your character and what they're about, feel free to set the points in. But if you'd rather talk more about your characters and kind of set the world around you guys that leads you into the upcoming battle. Because the way that I have been kind of framing it in my head is that you guys are going to be taking a primary role in the final battle of this war. Like, the enemy general will be on the field, and it's you guys who kind of have to wade through the enemies to be able to get up to the main general for the Federation forces, and it'll be this battle that will decide the fate of the galaxy. So it was going to be one way or the other. You would be remembered as heroes, because if you won for the side that you were on, you would win and do all of that. And even if you guys, man, I don't know how. It's very hard to die in Fate. But if you did somehow die, that's like, it's fine. And so when you get into battle as well, that's called a conflict. And you can just choose to give up. You can just be like, no, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this conflict anymore. And when you do, you get a fate point, which you can then use later to fuel your stunts and do other things like that. So sometimes just being like, I don't want anything to do with this is the right decision to make. Which is pretty neat.
I got my skills.
You got your skills?
Yeah.
Damn.
All right. So, with your skills, what is your great skill?
Smithy.
Okay, because you were a mechanic. Smithy is your great skill. What are your next two skills?
Good with the... So, for the armor skill, it's how well I can pilot.
Yes.
I
And
will
one of the
swap.
things that you can do is that because the mechs themselves will have they have their own stats as well, you basically merge your stats together and you take whatever's higher on one end or the other while you're inside of the mech. So when you're building your mech, you could even go out of your way and say this mech has +4 to armor. So that way, when you get inside the mech, even if you didn't take the skill outside, you're still able to pilot it to the best of your ability.
Okay. For good skills, I picked larceny and notice.
Okay. I thought I figured that larceny was going to be up your character's alley. Because you were like, yeah, I took the mech after it fell and the pilot died. Like,
I managed to hack the biometrics and I'm in.
yeah, it was it one of those like you ran up and quickly hacked your way into it, or because of your because of being able to like smithy your way in slash use larceny, like you were able to combine the two, or was this more of like the pilot before was dead and you just brought up his dead hand, set it onto the hand scanner, and like used his corpse to basically like, okay, thing work. Like,
I like the combination of like hacking it so that, oh, I think this guy inside the seat's alive. We read his fingerprints, and then he's like just forcing the eyeballs open to like, okay, retinal scan. Okay, cool. Throws them out.
So what you could do to hack into it, to basically like even get the opening, to get the center chamber to open up, like if the pilot was dead inside, it wouldn't just automatically open and chuck him out. You could take an aspect if you wanted, which you could call because the thing about aspects is that you want to have them with a slight drawback to them, so that way if given an opportunity, I can invoke the aspect on you as well. And when that happens, that's called a compel. So if you're in a situation where it's like, oh, I'm attracted to shiny things, and you're in a situation where you're in a room, I can say, hey, I'm going to compel you with your love of shiny things as you notice that there's this thing over there. And you can either choose to give me a fate point to say, no, I'm fine, I'm cool, I'm holding myself together, or you can accept my compel, and then you get a fate point for accepting the compel, but then you end up going along that way.
Right.
And we've talked about fate points as well on the show, and what fate points are is basically at the beginning of every game, you have a refresh of 3, and refresh means that as long as you have less than 3 fate points, you go back up to 3 fate points. And that's the beginning of every session. You can use them to invoke additional aspects. So if you wanted to during your turn, one of the things that you can do is create an advantage, which would give you a +2 on a roll, or let you re-roll dice through that aspect, or through that advantage. Or you could just spend one of your fate points, do that, as well as still make your action or try and overcome, which reduces the amount of bad. Or if you're like, okay, not even getting a +2 is going to save me on this roll, you can choose to spend your fate points to actually re-roll your entire dice pool.
Ooh.
Okay. So for your aspect, what we could do is that I want to call it, we could even just call it Mobile Suit Hacker. Or what do you think would be a good way? Because the ability that I'm thinking of is basically when you attempt to perform a larceny check on a mobile suit, you can use your smithy ability instead.
What would the drawback for that be? Would I just have to have tools on hand?
I have the idea for it. The ability will be called "It's Not Mine, I Swear."
I don't know what it is, officer.
Yeah. So that means that's going to have story implications as well, because if other people begin to recognize that like, hey, that's Todd's Gundam, you're just like, what? No, I spray painted it green. Like, you can totally have your aspect be that you've never seen it before, or that's not mine.
Okay, so I could use my smithy skill instead of larceny, but the cost of the mech being recognized down the line.
Yep. Okay, so
that does not fit into this box, but I'll make it work.
all you have to do is just leave the main title of "That's Not Mine, I Swear." Like, you don't have to include the consequence on it, because as long as we both can invoke it. Also, other players are able to invoke your aspects as well. So, like, when I go, like, if you all went into a room, again, we're going to be using the I love of shiny things as an example. We all go into a room, I describe the thing, and your character has the love of shiny things. And LB, you remember, oh, RJ has a love of shiny things. You could even bring up, be like, you know, you do have a love of shiny things, and that thing's pretty shiny. And you can actually compel RJ to do that as well. And then if his character ends up being like, yes, I agree, shiny thing, and like rushes over to get it, then you get a fate point back. So you can actually help, you can kind of fate point fish with each other by if you end up being like, oh, I forgot about my aspect, and then another person's like, well, look at that aspect thing, related thing over there.
Look over there.
Oh, look at it.
I think then instead of larceny at +3, I'll put in will.
Okay. So, you got the "That's Not Mine, I Swear" aspect. GB, have you worked more on your guy yet? Or figured out what you want their stats to be?
Yeah, my stats are: my great is melee, my good is armor and physique, my fair is blast, cunning, and will, and my average is athletics, stealth, provoke, and resources.
Okay. Sounds good. So, you said it was melee for first.
Yep.
And then underneath that, it was armor and physique?
Correct.
Okay. Armor. That's how they spell it in the book. It's not misspelled.
Amor.
Physique. With that, so we were saying that you were originally from the Federation, or did we want to continue to retool that?
We at the time it was still in the air, spinning. So, you know, it could be that I was part of some underground situation or something. I put down as the thing as my high concept, born in the cockpit.
Okay.
So, if we're gonna be on the neo-Zionists, I guess I could just have been some special case or a family in the Federation that switched sides, or, you know, that kind of thing. So
the other option for that is like in Gundam Wing and in Iron-Blooded Orphans, these kids were basically like trained from an early age, like borderline child soldiers, to pilot these things. So you could have just like gone through all of that, and now you're like, yeah, Like, this is what I've been trained to do, is fight in these things.
All right, it's a little Kronk-like, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Space
just
Kronk.
because I wanted to play that character I played in Robotech, kind of. I wanted to remake him. So.
The other option is, like you were saying, you could totally have just like had a family switch sides. Maybe it was one of those like you didn't care one way or the other. Like you like the entire conflict is dishonorable from your eyes. But at this point, it's like who's the bigger of two evils? Like, at least Neo Zeon's standing for something. Like, even if it's not necessarily something that you can agree with 110%, like maybe it's one of those like, yeah, 25% of this. And if you were from a family of the Federation that eventually switched sides, your resources are slightly lowered.
Well, I put a 1 in it because I figured at some point that's what happened when we switched sides or whatever.
Oh, okay.
We were cut off. So that's why I put a 1 in resources.
So
because I figured anyway.
No. So if it switched, like you were wealthy before and then it was like, oh, you're now living in squalor. Do you think that it would be out of the question for LB's character that you guys might have known each other or like practiced fighting against each other, that sort of thing? Because if it was pre-war and your family used to be wealthy, maybe you had a special unit that was like, this is my armor, this is my mech suit, and it was LB's character's family who ended up like making that for you. And so once you kind of switch sides, you still need to go to them to get yourself repaired.
Maybe maybe we were the pushing the engineering, pushing the stuff, and they were the we need to, we need ad campaigns and we need promos and merch. We need merch, Does that work, LB?
Works for me.
Cool.
All right. So got you over here. And then, do you guys have names?
Yes.
Okay, so I am going to go to yours first because you were very excited.
Hermia.
All right. It's fine if you don't have a last name.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense that I would need a last name.
Especially if your family's as illustrious.
Hold on.
Okay.
They all ended. I was trying to like combine two luxury car brands like Bugatti and Lamborghini but they all ended
A Mazabugi.
A Mazabugi. A Mazabugi. A Mazabugi.
Amazabugi. Yes. Okay, so Hermia Amazabugi.
Hi.
All right, what about you, GB? You got a name?
I just put it in there, Kenjobu Shimazu.
Oh, I don't know how to spell that.
I put
okay,
it
you sent it.
Chat for you.
Got it.
So.
Okay, so Kenjobu Shimazu, Hermia Mazabuki.
Pardon?
That's my character's name.
He was gone for 2 minutes.
I had my tummy made the rumblies, and I come back to this.
All right.
Hey, don't judge.
And then RJ, do you have a character name?
That's gonna be Eli.
But
So
you
we
need a last name.
Not if I was on a worker colony.
Yeah, you don't need a last name. You two did because you were both like, we were high society before all of this happened.
Here's some more lore. It's literally 3-1-I.
Nice.
I'm writing that down.
Thanks, I hate it.
My designation.
Yep.
Just call me Eli.
Okay. So, we have all of this written down so far. So you guys have your abilities. We figured out character names, high concepts. We have a few aspects written down. So I would say let's go to our first break. for the evening, just because it's almost it's around that time anyways. I also need to find my cat. She left a little bit ago, and I don't know where she went. But we're going to try and be back here in 5 to 10 minutes, so don't go no place unless you want to grab a drink, grab food, grab a friend, bring it on back, because we are going to be right on back with some goddamn Gundams. So,
Yay.
we'll see you guys shortly. All right, guys.
Bye.
We've done it. RJ brought us back with a burp. I don't know if you heard it, listener, but it might be there in the audio cast. So, before the break, we went through and we figured out stats and talked about the skills that we actually are going to be using in this game, as well as started hinting at players' backstories a little bit more. We found out that Hermia and Kenjobu knew each other from the pre-war days, as Kenjobu's family was actually a pretty high up Federation family, but when they switched sides, a lot of their assets got frozen, which is why Kenjobu's resource pool is so minimal now. So then let's go to Hermia. So Hermia, what were the skills that you ended up taking?
I took resources as my great, cunning and rapport as my good, armor, provoke, contacts as fair, and average is blast, investigate, lore, and stealth.
Nice. I think you're the only one who took blast.
And I didn't think I was gonna be the best fighter because like I was like really good at flying it, but like I didn't really blow up stuff because that's boy stuff.
That's barbaric.
I'm just an engineer, man.
I wear this yellow shirt with pride. Okay, so
I have blast at 2.
Okay, so GB is looking like he's going to be our primary warrior in this setting. So, let's go around and make some. Let's try and make some bonds with each other, because we already have one bond between Hermia and Ken. So let's do a total of, I want to say 3 bonds, and it can be 3 just total shared between the group. So would anybody like to go first, or say like, oh, I want a bond with that guy over there?
I think it's fitting for Eli having a bond with Hermia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like probably her family was the one that retrofitted my mech.
Okay.
And because I'm a mechanic, like, you know, they were like, oh yeah, you have some skills, you could come work for us.
Okay. Now works.
Yeah. So service for mech.
Now works for the Amazabugi family.
Just an employee. But I've got dental.
Oh yeah,
Sweet
great
dental.
benefits.
All right. So that is 1 bond.
Oh no.
I thought that was the second one.
Oh, I was thinking I would be fine if we all wanted to have like multiple bonds per person. Like if you guys wanted 3 bonds per, or if you wanted, let's say 2 bonds, because that way we can have a bond with each. Or unless you're like, I really don't feel like I would have bonded with this person at all, then you could easily just say like, okay, I have 2 bonds with this other character, and then if that character is like, well, I also have a bond, then it's kind of like, oh, he's a friend of a friend, but like we're in the same unit. Yeah.
And then yeah, it's Eli, you know, keeping my mech going, or my what suits?
Mobile suit.
Keeping my mobile suit going on my pittance of resources. I think maybe we, you know, that's sort of where we could find friendship in, like, oh my god, I can't, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. I can make this thing sing on the battlefield, but as soon as we get back anywhere, I don't, you know, that's not my thing.
How old is Ken?
Oh, yeah, well, let's say oldish for the child soldier, maybe mid-20s.
'Cause I was gonna say you could,
Sorry.
because you could have helped train me in
Okay.
mech stuff as like a payment for
All right.
us fixing up your mech.
All right. Yeah, and so where do you want to be? And then I'll scale up over that, because you know on all those Gundam type shows, everybody's like a teenager.
Right.
You know?
Hiro Yui was only like 12 years old, which is like,
What?
yeah, no, it didn't make any sense.
I'm gonna say at least 16.
All right. Then I'll stick with like 25.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so Ken and Hermia. Ken helped to train Hermia on how to use a mech. Okay.
Eli, are you okay with you earned my respect by putting me back together, keeping me in the fight?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, so through keeping Ken's mech fixed up for combat. Okay, and then Hermia, yours is your connection with Eli and your one connection with Ken. And then did you want to have any other connections?
They could also be with like NPCs, right?
Yeah, you can just like, I had like this person or this significant person. Just make up a name or who they were in relation to you, and then you can have that as part of your bond.
I want a rival.
Ooh, okay. Okay, so you're part of Neo Zeon. Is your rival part of the Federation?
Yes.
Okay. So your rival, male or female?
Female.
Okay.
Her name's Mackenzie.
Ooh.
It sounds personal.
It should be. She's her rival.
I meant okay.
Okay, so Mackenzie, the rival. Mackenzie is currently working with the feds.
Mm-hmm. She's that one that shows up and I'm like, Mackenzie. And then it's like split screen. She's like, hey, Hermia.
It's nice to see you out on the battlefield instead of indoors.
A slice screen.
Yeah. Yep. She's a total bitch.
Yes.
I know that anime trope.
Okay, so Mackenzie's
Has
fighting
drill hair.
the fed.
She also has really big boobs, and I'm just super jealous because I don't have any.
Big boobies. Jealous
Big
because
boobs Mackenzie.
don't have. That's your mean nickname is Boobs Mackenzie.
Yes. That's from a Markiplier thing.
Oh my
What's
god.
that game where you're notice me, senpai?
Was it Yandere Simulator?
Yes.
It was
yes.
Yandere Simulator.
Yeah.
Or Tsundere Simulator?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So yes, it is a personal thing, but it's all not a personal as in anyone I know, but it's because of that.
Yeah, so Boobs Mackenzie is the mean name that you give. Awesome. All right. I actually like the idea of having a bond with an NPC. I think that's really solid. So Eli, who's an NPC that you have a bond with?
Is this around the time with Haro units? The little ball like structures
Yes.
that are kind of like personal.
like
attendants?
Banage's ball?
Not like was it that Banage was a mech?
He had the little tiny green guy?
Yeah, and if like the ears can pop open.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
sunrise thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want
I
one?
have a Haro unit.
A little green mech. Robot friend.
Robo friend.
Is he like your R2D2 or is he like the learning unit that he was for Banage?
I think would be my R2D2 like assistant AI.
Okay.
Jackson like right behind the cockpit as well to help with calculations and stuff.
I like it.
And for reference, where should I put this? It's in the Tuesday night group. I wanna.
All right.
Sorry, Barry.
And then Ken, who is your NPC tie?
Okay, so what about a lost love?
Ooh.
I like it. I like the idea of a lost love.
Because it can be like haunting or clues or the search for, and doesn't have to be an interaction. It can be something that's occurring. Or coming up.
Do you know how you lost them?
During the war. Just something.
Like dead or like gone? I don't know.
Like I don't know. Like say, hell, maybe she was in Dublin when it got crashed, and you know.
So in my head, I really want to make Eli Irish. So it's like they dropped the satellite on Dublin. You what?
Motherfuckers gotta burn. Like.
Yeah, so like, you know, she's the MIA, or she was, you know, the last thing I heard was she was escaping Dublin, you know, she was on like the last ship out, and then never know, you know.
And suddenly in one of the episodes comes a mysterious female rival with a mask on.
It
happens every time, and they have like a scar across the front.
Yeah, exactly.
Strangely.
And I got goosebumps when you freaking said that. I was like,
possibly alive?
Is it you? I discovered that name a long time ago.
Or it'd be better if she was like, I don't know who you are.
Amnesia.
Amnesia.
That happens in Gundam Unicorn!
of course it does.
Gundam has explored a lot.
I was gonna say, I don't think there's any trope that we're gonna come across that's gonna be like, no one's ever done that before.
Yeah,
especially not in a Gundam anime, because there's so many.
There's a cat, and he's got, you know,
Actually,
I'm sure
Build Fighters is a weird series. We don't talk
get
about
those
Build
goddamn
Fighters.
furries out of my Gundam.
So there is a line. There's a Gundam line for RJ, and it's get the furries out.
We don't talk about Build Fight, okay?
Okay, all right.
It's a sore spot.
Fair. It's fair.
Okay. So we have figured out more about your characters. Are you guys getting a good like kind of mental picture about who they are, what they kind of have going on about them? So then the next question, the next segment that we are going to be going into is probably the greatest section of all time ever. Mechs! Mechs! Build a mech!
Woo!
Shouldn't you get in the mech?
Woo! So we have RJ, GB, and then we also have LB. So, it sounds like I'm talking about like video cables. You know, you just take your GB LB cable, plug it right on in the back. So what we need is this rule book. So, the steps to building your armor. 1, assemble it. So, this comes down to a very quick question, which is, do you want a humanoid or a non-humanoid mech?
Ooh.
Because you could have like you could have a Zoid, you could have like a mech that transforms, you could have something like that, or you could just have straight up humanoid, no added whistles or nuts and bolts or anything.
Ooh. I think I'm gonna go with a transformer.
Okay.
Neat.
So, right base concept for your mech, transformer. Okay. And then we can go through yours unless anybody else wants, like if somebody's curious to see how this ends up working before like that structure's the way that it is.
Let's do that.
Okay, so you have assembled your mobile frame. So you are going to write down these, like, you don't necessarily have to write them down, but these are the sections of your mech. Hi, Krieger. He's so cute. You have your head, your front, your back, arms, and legs. So 5 total pieces to your mech. Now, that is your basic frame. So just the standard humanoid design. And then there are the systems.
I'm sorry, it was head, back,
arms, legs, and chest.
no,
Front,
the
back,
head. Cool.
front, back, head, arms, legs.
Front, back, yeah, front, back. Cool.
All right. So, with that, did you open up the a second character sheet? Okay. So in this, you are going to be choosing a system. And that is either going to be an internalized system or an externalized system for each part of the armor. So an externalized system would be like you chose to have a add-on to your Gundam. So if you wanted blasts or anything else like that, that's going to be an external system versus an internal system, which you can use to then get a stunt out of the mech itself. So each part that you have has 4 different points that you can put into it. So you can either choose for a single part to be great at one particular skill. You could have it be spread out a little bit, so that way it's like a 3-in-1 split where that part gives you certain additional skills from that, which again, if they are higher than your overall skill, you just swap them with your mech. So you'd be using your mech as your replacement. And you can do that for each of the points. So, for example, this dude in the book, Aaron, wants his giant crab man mech thing to be very good at like taking on damage. So he gives the headpiece a stunt, which is once per conflict, he can spend a fate point to reduce the severity of a physical consequence by 1 step. Or on another skill on his front side, he ended up deciding to take a +4 in his armor. So it actually he doesn't have to take the armor skill to be able to use this mech. It's as long as you are the one operating it, you then have that +4 in your armor skill. And you can do that as well as and some points do end up stacking.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, you get to choose what parts you want. So let's talk about it. What does your suit look like? Like, what is it that you specialize in? Because we've already have your aspect that you are like, this isn't mine, I swear. So are you like a mobile hacker? Like while you're out on the battlefield, you have little discs that like shoot off of you, latch on to other mobile suits, like any of the dummy dolls that they had from like Gundam Wing that you can then repurpose and turn on your side?
So I had the idea where, loath as I say it, a cool concept from Build Fighters was one of the fuck you, Steven. Sorry. One of the actual Gundams could basically break parts of itself off to help support the Gundam's inner team.
Okay.
So it would be like the leg pieces come off and they turn into a blaster, and then she sends it off to another person, and then there's like it's just one core unit that's like basically the weak spot or where the actual control is.
Okay. So in this, you can choose, like you could choose all of them to just have all of those stunts, except for the core piece, but then you wouldn't be getting any additional bonuses out of your mech. So would you like for like 1 or 2? Because again, it's both of your legs are removed at the same time. It wouldn't be like one leg is a sniper rifle, the other leg is an automatic rifle. Like you have to.
Yeah. The same thing would happen because they form like 2 barrels of a shotgun.
Yeah.
Which is kind of badass.
Because so the other thing is with ammo resources.
Right.
the amount of like shots that you have in a weapon is determined by your blast in that specific stat or that specific part. So like if you have 2 blast, then like going into the mech and the mech has no blast, then you have a firearm that has 2 shots in it. But if your mech has 4 in its blast and you only have 2, then your mech has 4 blasts in it.
Because it overrides the
Yeah.
stats. Yeah. So could we say that would it be possible to give blast to another person like that then? Because then the leg units detach and get sent off to someone like a refill. Or would that be a stunt that we?
I would say your stunt could be that your legs detach from your body as your torso just kind of like hovers in air with like little jetpacks coming out of the bottom. But then you could give an ally a +4 pool of blast.
Mm-hmm.
So that way they would still have it. They would have 4 fresh charges on this new blast that they have, which also gives them the +4. But if anything does happen to those legs,
Can't use them.
Yep.
And that's why I kind of took the Transformer feat, where so at the actual Gundam that I'm thinking of, was it I can't think of it. Victory Gundam? From the Build Fighter series. It transforms into like this mini fighter jet
Okay.
to help support with like harassing fire.
Sure. So yeah, if you wanted, you could definitely be Transformer and like your legs like break off and form the gun while the rest of your body flies off. Now to transform, part of that isn't that it is a free transform.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, the transformation skill is an optional rule. So it can switch between the focused, wide, and broad skills. Yeah, so basically when you switch, which I believe is at the cost of a fate point. Yeah, so it always, to switch between costs a fate point. So in order to switch between your fighter jet form as well as your like full-bodied form, that would still cost you a fate as well as using your stunt, which would cost a fate. So if you wanted to do both, you would spend 2 fate points. But if you just wanted to switch, that would be 1. Or you could get the jet, or you could get the jets, because you have 3 fate points to start off each game, as well as the ability to earn more fate points.
All right. So let's roll back that then. I also had the idea for like a sort of support type mech where it'll stay back, do scanning, report on enemy locations, but then it could also do like send out those bits that fly out and attach themselves to enemy mechs to take control of it.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. So where do you want those parts to come from? Because that would just be a stunt. So where would you like visually, where do you picture?
Oh, it would be back slotted.
Okay, so yeah, you could definitely have your back slotted for your larceny stunt, which would be to take control of unmanned mobile dolls.
Okay.
Or to override like a pilot system or something, like some other mechanical interface.
Hack remotely. There we go.
Okay. And then where would you like to put any of your other points?
I think head, I'll boost up my notice to like great. So it is like sort of that scanning protocol.
Okay.
For fucking chest missile.
My arms are Gatling guns.
Arms Gatling guns. From there, how many more points do I have? Is it like point allocation?
Yeah. You can put a stunt in whatever one you want, or you can put up to 4 ability points in either of those slots as well. So if you just want to mix and match and think of stunts as well, we can move on to other people.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, LB, what does the mech of Hermia do? Like, what are you thinking of so far?
So I just sent you an image that I'm kind of basing it off of.
Awesome.
And I kind of she's like, she went like, Daddy, I really want a mech, and he's like, okay, do you want it to be a unicorn? She's like, no, I want it to be as scary as possible.
Okay.
So, I think that I don't like, as far as like what it can do, that's I kind of want it to have a tail that I can use as like an ivy whip sword thing.
Okay.
And then the wings, I kind of wanted to be shielding in a way, like that could like fold over and like buff me up.
Okay. So with the tail, I would say, because you want it coming from your arm, kind of thing. I mean, like,
I want the tail detachable.
Okay, detachable. Got it. So I would say you could have that. We can just have that on it. You don't have to spend a slot, because that's just your weapon. But what you could do is that you could set your back. Again, a lot of back stunts on this. But you could set the stunt for your back that you gain additional armor. Or you can once per conflict, it's the same thing as this guy's head stunt, which is once per conflict, spend a fate point to reduce the severity of a physical consequence by 1 step. So when you are getting hit by something, if it's that once during combat, you can have your wings come down and shield you from the severity of it. The other option that you could have with that is you could have your wings give you an advantage to provoke, or something like that. So what you could do instead is that you could have it like, because what is your armor skill was +3?
Armor was +2.
Okay. Because if you wanted, you could have a provoke skill using your armor. If provoke already wasn't higher than that.
So have people target me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically spread these large angel wings out and just gaze upon me, mortals.
I like that one.
Okay.
So provoke. Well, what is my provoke? Yeah, it's not in there. So it's provoke. Is that once per combat?
This will be once per scene. Or once per conflict is still fine, I think. Because scene is a much longer, drawn-out one.
Okay. Okie dokie.
All right.
So I have my head, my back, my front.
I went there too, it's okay.
I sang the song when I wasn't on the stream. And that's it.
Okay, so you have your front, head, back. So for you also have arms and legs.
Okay.
As a stunt, could I do like for my chest? It opens up and could also like release like these sort of nanobots that help heal on the fly for patch jobs. Like it reduces the stress of my allies.
That would be once per scene. You can scale down the severity of the physical consequence to kind of like heal up, because you wouldn't be able to be like, nanobots act as a psychiatrist for a hot minute, but like
nanobots roll out.
Yeah, you could send out the nanobots, and then once they select a unit to repair, they steadily begin working on that, but you don't have enough to target multiple people at once.
So for my head, there's a point where the horns meet in the middle, and I kind of want there to be a laser.
Yeah.
Laser.
So what you could do is that you could have a +4 +4 in blast. You could just have like your head just function as a cannon and just blast people with like the combined horn from your head.
Yeah. I call it my third eye.
Yes.
I might hit him with a third eye.
Third eye blind.
Thanks. And then with my feet, since I have hooves, I would like to. Can I do like a trample? Some sort of like.
Yeah.
Physical damage?
Yeah, if you wanted, you could have that be a fight skill or your melee skill. And you could choose either great on that one as well, or you could separate it where you wanted, say, like 2 in there and then 2 in something else. So if you wanted like additional points in stealth or something like that, then you could also include those on your legs instead of just going 4 in all one stat.
Okay. And do I have to pick front and arms as well?
Yes.
Okay. So for my arms, I want to say I'm like a melee based with the sword and stuff. So maybe I have like dagger. No, I was gonna say dagger claws. That would already do that. I was just trying to think of like how creepy that. Like I'm trying to make it creepy. What if I grapple someone and I can leak my fluids from my mech onto them and use it as like an acid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like bleed damage.
Yeah, I'm totally down with this. So that would be a once per scene as a stunt because you have to refill the amount of like acid that you have in your claws.
Yeah.
But when you can spend a fate point to increase the severity, I would think. Yeah, so you could increase the severity of a physical consequence on an enemy by 1.
Yeah.
When you do it. So when you hit somebody with it and you're already succeeding, just and little bit more.
Squeeze. All
I
right,
dig
so
it.
Chest.
And your chest, what you could have there is legitimately, like you said already, that you just wanted one, like, Daddy, give me the best mech that you have. So your chest piece could just be +4 armor. So as long as you are inside of this mech, it runs fine. Like, you barely need to pilot it at all. Like, it just does its own thing, basically.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
I was gonna have to do something with boobs, but that's better. Like the boob cannons or something.
Look, Mackenzie is boobs.
I know, and I'm jealous.
Does your mech have rockin' titties?
No, it doesn't. Because I don't.
Maybe I was thinking like that's how your character compensates. Be like, I might not, but check out these. And it's like this mech with large cans.
It's the Madonna.
Those are the poison holdings, like the acid holding chambers.
And they just deplete.
Yeah.
Tank girl.
Tank girl.
All right. So that is yours, GB. You have sent me an amazing picture.
Yeah.
I love this. So is that so how do you want yours to look? So you have front, back, head, legs, arms.
Yeah. Front, back, head, legs, arms. Okay, got it. So I would like here's my vision, and then we'll see, because I love this prop. So this is his sword, and he can use it as a shield. Because it's so broad, things come in and he ting, 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 bounces off of it, and then does his thing. I'd also I think I want his head to be all about will, like a will stat.
Okay.
So it's either, I don't know, because I only have 1 or 2 in will, and I think that this is when he's in the mech, his mind is like a steel trap. I cannot be defeated. There is no defeat. There is no surrender.
Yeah.
So is that feasible? Is
Yeah,
head?
you could definitely have that. Do you want that to be? So what you could do even is that instead of just +4 to will, you could have it be a +2 to both will and cunning.
Okay.
So not only do you gain this like additional bonus to your mental fortitude, but it also makes your mind a little bit sharper, so you're able to pick up more on the actual things happening in the battlefield as well.
All right. So 2 and 2.
Yeah, if you would like. Otherwise, you can definitely do 3 and 1.
I think I will do 3 and 1.
Okay.
Just because I like the idea of. And now those will add to my already existing stats.
If it is higher than your current stat, you just use the armor's. If it's lower, if the armor stat is lower than yours, then you just use yours. So for you, for example, you chose melee as your great skill. So you don't have to worry about your mech having melee skills because you have them.
Right. Okay. All right. I think then I think I will just put the head thing into just all will.
Okay.
I'll just give myself 4 will there. Like, there is no surrender, there is no defeat. And then I'll rely on my 2 in cunning of my own accord.
Okay.
To see me through. And then the other thing I would like to have as a blast is like the sections of his arms or arm fold out like a bow, like
Ooh.
like a bow, and it's all rockets. So like he points his arm, and then all of a sudden, the 2 sections come out, and it's all just rockets, and then it fires like a Zen archer kind of
Yes.
deal. So how do we denote that?
So you could give yourself +4 to blast in your arm.
Okay.
Because I thought originally you were gonna say like 2 long bars end up forming, and it's like this electrical bow that you're just shooting EMPs at people.
Right.
Yeah, no, I like the missiles though. I think that's sweet.
Because I think then it could look like a kaboto, the Japanese fighting clubs.
Yeah.
The great clubs. So it would look like little nubs on his arms, but they're actually either the caps or the rockets themselves.
Yes.
Click out and then,
Yes.
fire. So
I love it.
let's do that. And so those were like the big things I wanted. I wanted to be, the mental, the Tower of Iron Will in his head.
Yeah.
He's already got the sword, which is his melee thing. Could we maybe then say that we could use the back? The back is like where the sword is at, and that's when he uses it for a shield or whatever, additional armor.
So
something like that, or how does that?
I would say that the additional armor that you could give yourself, because you already have really good physique, is the thing. Like your unit is already going to have a really good ability. But what if there's also the option, so like with the Aedo sword style, where it's all about that first draw, that initial cut. If you had like jet boosters on your back, so that way, like as you're pulling it forward, it's giving you an extra pull, so that way you have more forward momentum when you're striking out against people. And you could have your stunt be that you could spend a fate point, and then you go first in the initiative count.
Okay.
As you just rocket up to people and immediately just start laying waste.
We'll call it the Iyatsu draw. How about that?
Yes.
Swing.
Just fragments of other mechs floating through space.
All right. Then that goes front bod and legs yet.
Because your legs could give you stealth
Okay.
if you wanted to. Mostly as a, like, maybe they have some part in them that causes there to be a slight damper on any kind of sweeping technology. So that way you legitimately just show up out of nowhere, sword already drawn, and before they realize what's going on, it's too late.
Give them the old ninja move. Yeah, why don't we put that in the bod?
Okay.
So like a stealth boost or something. So how do we denote that?
So that stealth, since stealth is one of the skills that we have, you could just +4 stealth.
Okay.
Yep. And then that will be an always active thing with your mech.
All right. And then so then that leaves legs. So I've got the Tower of Iron Will in the helm, stealth in the bod, the blast rockets in the arms, the Ayatsu draw in my back, and LB, did you went with hooves, right? And then
Yeah.
you can trample things.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, why don't I do a kick with the legs? Just extra. Oh no, my melee's already at 4. So
if you wanted to have, you could have your legs potentially be part of a like a melee stunt.
okay.
So like as you sweep up on people, maybe you don't do the initial sword draw, but maybe it's like you stealth up on them just real quick with that rush and just boss kick them, just a solid boot to the chest. So that way they're already thrown off kilter, and then that's when you bring the sword down.
All right. So that would be a stunt.
Yeah, that would be a stunt.
Flying kick, maybe?
Yeah. So your flying kick, I would say that... Yeah, you could do like a one... I would say a once per conflict.
Okay.
Just because it's one of those, like, I don't know if you'd be able to use it twice.
Yeah,
It'd just be like, oh, this dude's doing a flying jump kick at us. But you
Giant
could...
Jaguar!
You could spend a fate point to... You could spend a fate point coupled with a melee attack to create advantage.
Okay.
Because that would be knocking somebody prone.
Okay. Spend a fate point with melee to gain advantage. All right. Sweet.
Okay.
Alrighty. So... Was that all 5 for everybody?
No, I still have arms, and I was going to put in for arms I have arms and legs still. For arms, I was going to do the salvage stunt.
Okay.
Yeah. Salvage. And for... stunts cost fate points to use,
Yes.
right? Yes. Maybe I'm gonna swap it. Instead of doing salvage, I'll put for... Okay, so how does the point allocation specifically work? Because I put head plus... My head has a blast of +2.
Okay.
So does that mean I have another +2 to put somewhere else, or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so your head, you would get +2 in blast, and then you would get +2 another stat for your head as well.
Okay. So I'll put +4 for blast. 'Cause
Okay.
I sent you a picture of what I want to do.
Yeah.
Shit. Hold on. I gotta think now. I think for arms, no. Yes, I will use contact +4 with my arms to make contact with the enemy LB already has the provoke stuff. I'm gonna swap it. Blast +4 in the arms, and head will get pilot +4, so I don't have to do anything.
You mean armor +4?
Armor +4.
Yeah.
Armor +4, and then for legs, my leggies.
I gotta return visitor.
Could I put blast +4 in my legs as well to get a cumulative +8?
Yes.
Fuck yeah!
Yep.
Gundam. So fuck it all. Head blast +8, front head blast +8, back +8, +4. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna be Gundam heavy arms. It's gonna be great. No, yeah, arms and legs blast +4.
Okay. All right. So is that everybody's +5? Or 5 skills? My cat is just being a fucking derp. Oh,
Actually,
please
let
don't
me-
knock this back. I know you love it very
I'll
much.
send you the general
All right.
look.
So the next important thing that you guys have already kind of done is flavoring your armor. So like, what does it look like to everybody else? Because LB sent me a picture and it looks like a 6-winged angel demon thing. It has cloven hooves. It has a tail as well as 2 horns that, almost like Hubris had, kind of like come out and then meet up in the middle, and that's where the third eye will open up and blast people. I see now why they called that skill blast. It's just, it rolls off the tongue so much
Yeah.
easier.
I am going to modify it from the drawing slightly. I would like her to be red and black.
Okay.
So kind of like an angel of death, and her mouth, when it's like normal, it looks like that, but when it opens, it's one of those like
Predator mouths.
what?
The predator mouths where it's like that.
No. It like splits like in Japanese like horror. Their mouth splits and it's just all the teeth.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Splits wider.
Yeah.
Oh man,
All
GB,
right.
what did you choose?
Oh, RJ, you're the only one I haven't sent this to. Un momento, por favor.
I want Steven to describe mine.
Describe it.
Yours looks like a Lego. Like you made it with Legos once and said good enough.
Mass produced.
Mm-hmm. Or do you have... Okay, so with yours, I have more questions, but we'll let Greybeard...
Yeah.
So GB, describe to us, what does it look
So
like?
it looks like a very heavy suit of samurai armor, and it's black and with some gold highlights. But I think the gold highlights are actually like lit up, and so when I go into stealth mode, even they go black, and so everything's just dark and sort of shimmery when I go hit the stealth mode on. It just it blocks incoming signals and whatnot, so I don't appear on their radar. And then it's he's got the massive sword, and I don't know, it just looks like a mech'd out suit of samurai armor.
Baller as hell. And speaking of ball, RJ.
So again, with the transformation, is there any benefit to it, or is it just like I just change forms?
You just you can reallocate points. So in your transformation, if you have like +4 in blast, then in your transformed form, you can change that +4 in blast to be a wider range. So you can get +1 in 4 different stats, or +2 in 2 different ones. So you can actually change your mech depending on what you transform into.
Cool. Yeah, that works. So it's a ball with a gun.
Are you Hamtaro? Are you Hammond?
No, he doesn't have a grappling hook. That'd be kind of baller as hell, though. Just grapple up to people and just like shink.
Well, particularly since that would be useful for salvage too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my head, what the transformation looks like is the ball actually like unwinds like Samus Aran style, and underneath is like
okay.
a full bodied mech.
I see. I dig it. Because I was gonna ask, since your attribute or your aspect that we figured out earlier was it's not what was it? It's not
mine, I swear.
Yeah, it's not mine, I swear. I was thinking that was like a central core that you had, and then there was just like ramshackled pieces of other mechs kind of built off of it. So it had what looked to be a humanoid style mech, but then on the inside was just this tiny ball that was controlling all of it, basically, like hooked up. So you had this central core, so when other parts come out or you transformed into your jet mode that you wanted to earlier, it would basically be like a modular mech. You would be Build Fighter.
I'm just gonna change it around, like the company that, oh god, I can't even remember the name. LB's family company remodeled it so that generally it's the ball form, but then when it turns to that humanoid form, then the Anti-Earth Federation kind of recognizes, like, oh, wait a minute, that used to be one of our guys.
Oh, okay. I got it. I like
our
it.
Top guys.
Our top men.
Top men. Crates and balls.
So we have a ball, a samurai, and an angel of death.
Walk into a bar.
These are the protagonists I always wanted. Okay, so then there is one more step afterward, which is connect your armor to your pilot. So, name your armor. It may be the model number, a classification, or even a personal nickname that you have for it. Another common choice is a type of medieval weapon that they used in the Camelot Trigger. Also consider using one of your aspects to make a personal connection with your armor. So, like in your case, RJ, your connection with it would be, this isn't mine, I swear. Or LB, your aspect, the keen eye. Like, because again, you have a keen eye, and then you also said that your mech uses its third eye to start blasting people. So is there some connection between that kind of, like, scrutiny that you have in general with the way that your mech ended up being?
It's a good question. I know its name.
Yeah.
Its name is Shino Tenshi.
Amazing. For you audiocast listeners, RJ just noped.
I think that because she had she probably designed the whole thing, like from top to bottom.
Okay.
And
I kind of like it in my head that instead of like this Crayola crayon drawing, it's actually like a blueprint schematic.
Yeah.
It's just like, Daddy, I want this, and it's like, oh,
oh shit.
And why
that works?
Why does the mouth open up so much like that? Oh, that's so I can let more sunlight into my area.
But then what about the missiles in the mouth?
Well, obviously.
You gotta have missile.
I think that's a good idea, Indoor, about having the third eye. My opening it, like becoming one with my mech was like more of a spiritual thing to me, because it was my baby. It was the thing that I made, like I wanted, and I thought it up and I made it. And so like when I'm in my mech, it's me. I am my mech.
Okay, so that, if you would like, is actually another really good aspect that you could take on, which is I am my mech.
I am my mech.
I dig it.
Oh, and I'm totally like, and this is for RJ's character. Whenever my mech gets just like hurt and stuff, I am right there like a kid who's waiting for his toy that's being washed, like sitting outside, like. Don't just make sure you're not doing that part. That part doesn't belong there. Like,
I can't cinch that nut too tight. Like,
yeah.
I dig it. I like it.
I got mine.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 40-RG3RY.
Okay, hold the fuck on. So, what is it? 40-.
RG 3RY. Pronounced forgery.
I like it.
RJ.
Dude, I'm hugging you right through.
And LB, what did you say the name of yours was?
Shi no Tenshi,
Awesome.
which means Angel of Death.
Nice. All right. And GB?
It's the Japanese, because I did the same thing. Dakushiro, which is the Dark Tide.
Nice.
All right.
I figured as soon as we added the stealth part, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the thing. I just appear from nowhere in death, you know.
All right. So you will notice, everybody who's still at the stream, I probably didn't spell Dakushiro right. Mnemonics, just the way it sounds. That's the way I'm writing it in my notes.
DAKU.
Yes.
Look, it did. Magic.
Been here for so long. It's great. She never hangs out with me on stream without causing a ruckus.
She's so high on kitty gas.
She is though. She's really high.
Me in my
But-
pajamas.
So
Now we all know.
we have everything about our mechs, everything about our characters. I know that we were thinking initially of possibly going into a little bit of gameplay because we spent so long doing this, but I also know, LB, you were saying that it's getting kind of late, and I know that some of you guys have also been doing character creation for hours. Today, this is like what, GB, hour 7 of character creation for you today?
Yeah, it was. And yeah, I still have choices to make on that character. My blood sugar was crashing. I had to walk away.
That's totally fine. But if you guys would like, we can always revisit these characters later. I think that this was a good first foray into Gundams and Mechs, because again, as a DM prep thing, there's so much for me to go on with this already. Like, there's not. The best part is that there's not so much that it's like, okay, I need to do at least a week's worth of research. But it's like, again, you have your lost love that was during the war. Totally not going to come back wearing a helmet and a visible scar underneath, being like, I don't remember who you are. All I know is battle. Yeah, that's totally not going to happen, because that's...
Who the hell is Bucky?
Exactly.
That's definitely not going to happen. Wink.
Ever.
But yeah, so if we ever get the time again, I would very much love to come back and actually play with these characters, because we just spent a long time getting invested. I know that I spent a long time tonight explaining a lot of this stuff, but at the same time, it's a verbose game at the beginning. Once it takes off, it's whatever.
It's like Kids on Bikes in that sense, where it's like a lot of building, and then
We go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and also, now that I have all this stuff, I can build a small scenario around it. So, if ever there's a night where Barry isn't free for some reason or another on Tuesday, we could always do Mechs.
Yeah.
Unless we were still really down for Waterdeep, because I know I am. But I think with that, that's all the time that we have for this right now, just because we couldn't get into a roleplay session without it being
3 a.m.
Yeah, without it being
yeah.
ridiculous. Like, it would, yes.
I'd
I'm
have to get the
excited.
voice down.
Yes. And as always, send me character notes if you guys are like, this is more about this person's backstory, or this is another bond I thought of with an NPC. Like, please. I love reading. I love reading the things that my friends send me, especially when I can use all of that to help create a story for everybody. So,
I'll write down the rivalry.
yes, Mackenzie Boobs.
Boobs Mackenzie.
Boobs McKenzie. Big boobies is one of the notes they have right there.
So then this is the sword that Kenjobu carries on his own person in reality.
Oh, yes, he's one of those characters. Oh, I'm so happy. I love Gundam.
I want a little anime cat. If he gets a sword, I want a little anime cat that felt, like that's just eyes.
You get it. You're having it.
Yes.
You know why? Kenjobu has his sword, you have your anime cat, and RJ has ball.
I have more balls.
Your mech is a spherical shape, and then you also have this little green ball that is, oddly enough, the Sunset mascot. Or Sunrise, the company that makes Gundam. That is their mascot, is just a little green ball.
It's good that RJ's character has more balls because Hubris doesn't have any.
My leg. My feelings.
So I know that you're on the East Coast, but I could always Google the nearest burn ward for you if you need it.
Fuck you. My mom's a nurse. I can get the ointment myself.
All right.
LB has a third eye. RJ has a third ball.
It's true. This is canon now. This is the canon we live in.
It's a kickstand.
Gross.
D12, man. D12.
Well,
16.
All right, but I don't know if we're going to be doing Nights in the Courtyard after this. Probably not. Who knows? But if we do, we will hear. We can answer questions about this whole process. I know I have questions for people.
You can hear me rant about Gundam.
Yeah, like you did for the last 3 hours. Almost like maybe we should have had a different podcast that's just RJ and I being like, oh my god, Gundams though. Hey patrons, tell us if you would like a podcast of RJ and I going, but Gundams though. We'll see what we can do. But that is it for me. RJ, where can we find you? What do you do?
Hey everybody, I am RJ here on the show, your local mech enthusiast, RJustice282 on Twitter and Twitch, where I tweet about the nerdy things and sometimes stream. Maybe I'll stream this weekend because I have free time. Yeah, you could catch me here on Monday as Calum, our Shadowkai cleric, Tuesday as Hubris the Warlock, who's in the doghouse, and starting January 26th on Pro Restarter stream for Monster of the Week.
Yes. All right. Greybeard, where can we find you? What do you do?
I needed to look up something, but I'll wing it. I'm Greybeard of Greybeards Tavern. Generally, I'm Kronk Goreblast on Tuesday nights, right here on Indoors channel and for Waterdeep. And then on Sunday mornings, bright and early, I played Darkest Dungeon with lots of props, including what I was putting together earlier, my new crossbow.
Oh, what the hell?
So,
RJ missed it completely.
Come join us on Sundays for some Darkest Dungeon, 10 to noon on my Twitch channel, Greybeards Tavern. Check it out on Twitter. I'm constantly retweeting the wonderful stuff that all my pals do and the craziness of, my own stuff. So just check it out there. And then starting next Thursday, I believe it is
1 o'clock.
Yeah, 1 o'clock. Our time, EST.
Eastern.
EST, 1 p.m. EST. I'll be playing in a Blue Rose campaign with Pro Restarter and some new fellas that we want, and that's a romantic fantasy. So join us then.
I'm excited for romance and fantasy.
Yes.
New thing for me to watch at work while I'm totally working. And LB, where can we find you? What do you do?
Hi, I'm LB. LBHackEmUp. I have a Twitter, and I'm going to tweet right after this. Promise. And then you can find me this Sunday on Encounter Roleplay's channel at 5 o'clock Eastern Time for a Fates game, which is a lot of the reason why I'm here tonight, to familiarize myself and remember and all that stuff. So I'll be playing a book nerd in high school and someone who's not comfortable talking to people in general, so not like myself at all. And then next week, Friday, the 25th, I'm going to be in at 8 p.m. on Pro Restarter's channel with Birthright, playing a character that's a lot like a little bit like Boromir, a little bit like Aquaman, a little bit like Diana, Wonder Woman. Who knows?
Who knows, indeed.
And this is Krieg.
What a great cat. We've had a great cat stream.
Yeah.
This whole day. And I am the Indoor Adventurer. If you have made it to this point, you probably already knew that by coming to the Indoor Adventurer Twitch stream. We also have a YouTube where you can catch up on the backlog of the Monday D&D 5th Edition homebrew campaign that I run with LB, RJ, our dear friend Cyberwolf, and our dear friend Danae. And then on Tuesday nights, also at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I run Waterdeep Dragon Heist with these three wonderful people, as well as our Australian boy in charge, damn it Barry, who wasn't here tonight. I don't think I asked him if he wanted to do mech stuff. I didn't know how.
Rude.
I know. I feel really bad now. I also didn't know what his take on mechs were, or if he was awake or sleeping, because Australia time is weird.
He was at the gym.
Oh, that makes sense. You know, that healthy lifestyle instead of mechs. Yeah, if we talked about Nights in the Courtyard earlier, which is an after show that we do that is released to our patrons. So if you would like to hop in and support via Patreon, that is patreon.com/the Indoor Adventurer. And you can, of course, follow me on Twitter at IndoorWTF, as my players have said that quite frequently, but not last week. So maybe there's trouble brewing next week.
No.
Who can say? But that is all the time that we have. So again, I wanted to say thanks to each and every single one of you who decided to come by and watch us try something new. Hopefully this was a good experience for everybody, and we'll try and do either more DM prep work, or we can finally get this Gundam campaign. Not even a campaign, but just like a few rounds. Man, I want mechs so bad. And we'll get that out to all of you in a timely fashion. But until then, we will see you guys next time. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.